Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome all of you back to Ohio Exopolotics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder, and we are broadcasting live from the beautiful Dillon State Park here in East Central Ohio. I'd like to remind all of you to please press the follow button if you haven't done so already, and you'll be notified 1 hour prior to each of the Ohio Exopolitics shows. The music you hear at the beginning and end of each of your shows here is performed by your host, and CDs are available on request. Our guest this evening is Tolec, a man who is getting quite a following across the world, and he has some interesting information about the Reptilians and galactic history and how all that ties in to what's going on here on Earth today. And it's my pleasure to welcome Tolec back to the show. Tolec, how are you this evening?
Mark, I'm doing good. Hey, I want to thank you for having me back. You're always so kind and gracious whenever we get into these intense conversations, and I just want to say thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Well, you're very welcome, sir, and it looks like a lot of folks around the world are waiting to hear from you this evening, and I know you have some information in regard to the reptilians that you want to talk about this evening. And I have a few questions on my own that you probably haven't seen yet, but I'll let you start out and lay the information out there that you wanted to give to the people this evening.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot of detail here. It won't be as extensive as our last interview session, but I think it'll go about 12 or 15 minutes for me to get through all of the detail, and I'll certainly let you know as soon as I get done. And then, sure, you're welcome to ask your own questions, and whenever you decide that it's time to open up the phone lines, that's your call.
Okay.
All right, here we go. All right, so we're here this evening because I want to reveal and discuss a much bigger galactic picture of why the reptilians have been here on Earth and 20 other planets, 2 of which are very much like Earth but don't have the diversity of Earth like we do down here with all the different cultures and languages and religions, etc. And I'm going to rewind for a moment to provide some baseline information. Most of the people will remember that there were 2 primary reasons that the Andromeda Council made a conscious decision to step in and intervene on behalf of the people of Earth. For people who are not familiar with the material, I'm just going to touch on it briefly. There was a meeting by the Andromeda Council to intervene years ago before this recent war in space began for the freedom of Earth and her people against the Draco and Hydra Reptilians, and of course their Gray Alliance partners from Orion. And keep in mind, this war out in space, just beyond Earth space, ended around January, February 2011. And of course, the last undersea base was just cleared out about a month ago. So, back to the story about the intervention and how and why it was decided on by the Andromeda Council. There was a serious meeting held about a decision to intervene and help free the people of Earth. And the meeting was held because the Andromeda Council had become aware of an event sometime down our timeline, about 360 years, about 360 years in the future, that if allowed to happen, it would have had some major, big-time, catastrophic consequences for many people on many planets in the Milky Way galaxy. Now, another reason they decided to intervene was that they knew that this planet Earth and the people of Earth were coming into a time in the near future, which is actually now, which is a time of a transition, transformation and evolution, if you will, to becoming a higher dimensional world. And of course, the next step up for us is in the fourth dimension. And consequently, not only will this world become fourth dimensional, but so will our people. And the other reason that they decided to intervene is that they felt that Earth people at some level deserved to be able to make this evolutionary step as free and sovereign people and not being subversively dominated, manipulated, abused, controlled, used as a slave labor force, emotionally traumatized. We've had influence at the highest levels of power, government, and society, certainly at the highest levels of corporate banking, because for anybody that's paying attention, there have been, 400 or so resignations of top corporate bankers just in the past couple of months. And worse, Earth humans have been maimed, raped, eaten, taken as a natural resource, and had genetic and scientific experiments done on us by these Draco and Hydra reptilians. And the list goes on and on. This is, of course, really serious stuff. So they took both matters into consideration, and after some serious deliberation, they decided that the people of Earth deserved an opportunity to make it on their own and not be interfered or messed with after years and years of manipulation, control, and unaware enslavement, if you will. I do know the council members were initially completely convinced to take action on Earth's behalf, but there were some issues at hand, and not taking action could certainly have had long-reaching effects on the Andromeda Galaxy. And I wanted to know why. That was the issue for me. I was aware of this information. We had talked about it before in my early contacts with them, but I wanted to know what this was all about. Why was this a big issue? And so keep in mind we've got the Milky Way galaxy, which has 15 quadrants or sectors, if you will. The Andromeda galaxy has almost double that, with 28. And that represents a lot of human homeworlds where people live. They go about their daily lives, where there's possible cause and effect in terms of interference by aliens. Specifically, in this case, we're talking about reptilians. So I took some time recently, within the past couple of weeks, and I asked my Andromeda Council contacts what they had learned and what this was all about. And what many people may or may not know is that the Andromeda Council looked down the timeline to the location and the origin of the places and activities that led to this catastrophic event somewhere 360-odd years in the future. And they found that those activities led back to this solar system, specifically to Earth, Mars, and the Moon. And what they told me about and showed me is that there is a matching alignment of pyramids on each of these celestial bodies, Earth, Moon, and Mars. And the reptilians have been using these pyramids for years as a reptilian-specific, attenuated, modulated frequency, and as a triangulated beacon from these three celestial bodies, Earth, Moon, and Mars, to lower and keep down the vibration, the frequency of this area of space, this frontier border, if you will, where we are in the spiral arm location of the Milky Way galaxy down around 7 o'clock. And their purpose was to slowly change over time the frequency of this planet, Earth, and the DNA of the human on this planet, to change it to reptilian DNA, to genetically alter humans to be reptilians. And, you and I and a lot of other people know this planet has almost 7 billion people. So we're talking about two things here. An attempted global planetary change of Earth's own frequency and the attempted change of the DNA of humans on Earth. Now, as some people may or may not know, reptilians are known as master geneticists throughout the universe, highly intelligent, among other things. And keep in mind, the Draco and Hydra reptilians are doing this and have done this by frequency and genetics, have altered and conquered other galaxies, other star systems, and other human-type worlds, and other worlds before. They've done it. And so, to point out what may or may not be obvious, the bigger question kept bugging me is, why? This is what I wanted to know. Why would the reptilians do this beside the obvious control of planets, control of resources? I mean, that one's pretty obvious. So I'm asking myself and my Andromeda Council contacts, listen, what's the bigger picture here? There's got to be a bigger picture than the obvious answers. And as a longtime operations guy in much of my business career, I'm thinking, what's going on here? There's got to be a bigger agenda. So what I learned from my Andromeda Council contacts, and believe me, it was disturbing, think of two words: conversion, transformation. I learned in the recent conversation with the gang upstairs about this topic that the reason the Andromeda Council intervention was so critical, and keep in mind, reptilians have been using their reptilian energy frequency-specific technologies for years to create a reptilian energy frequency grid around the whole Milky Way galaxy. Why? To change the frequency of human DNA, not only on planet Earth, but on each human, or, if you will, humanoid planet in the Milky Way galaxy, to make this whole galaxy thoroughly reptilian. So we're talking about the wholesale, complete transformation and conversion of each human planet. And in this process of us having this conversation, they also showed me like this grid, this web, if you will. Think of like a fishing net that's segmented into large nodes with different planets underneath, all receiving reptilian energy frequency at each node and driving it down to the human planets below. So what we're looking at is if the reptilian actions of attempting to change the Earth planetary-wide frequency and the human DNA were allowed to occur based on their goals, not only this planet, but 360 years in the future, approximately, there would have been a simultaneous event, and I'm going to use a metaphor here, where a number of these reptilian-specific, low-level energy nodes, think of multiple tumblers in a lock, they would have all synced up together at the same time, bang. And at a moment in time, and the blink of an eye and the snap of a finger, it would have converted the whole Milky Way galaxy and transformed all the human-type planets and all of the humanoid people on those planets, everyone, to a reptilian vibrational frequency and reptilian DNA pattern. If you look at the dots and connect the bigger picture is this issue is not only just about Earth and the 20 other planets that have already been reptilian occupied, and actually 2 others that are just like Earth without the diversity. But I want to let this sink in for people. This catastrophic event, would it have happened? It would have been about the wholesale completion of a long-term conversion and transformation of the whole Milky Way galaxy and all of its inhabited worlds to reptilian ones. Not cool. Not cool at all. And it's like I said, it's been a challenge to absorb this information and learn about it. And I just want to wrap this up by saying, we on Earth, the people of Earth, and other worlds have been controlled, manipulated, abused. We've been fed upon. We've lost our freedoms. We've lost our essential right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. I'm sure everybody will recognize those words and what they mean. Because we've been used as worker slaves for years in a system that doesn't work, managed on Earth by cruel, self-centered, power-hungry, malicious people called the Cabal or Illuminati or powers that be, who are in fact controlled by the Draco and Hydra reptilians. Far too long. Far too long. I, for one, am glad that this is ending, and I believe that we're blessed. I believe the people of Earth and other planets will be blessed that the Andromeda Council, led by the people of Procyon, stepped in around 10, 11 years ago to intervene on the behalf of the people of Earth, to free the people of Earth. Because, quite frankly, we didn't have the technology, the know-how, the dimensional awareness, if you will, or the ability to fight the reptilians ourselves and win. We just didn't have the tools. And ultimately, the Andromeda Council was not going to allow the complete genocide of various human races in the Milky Way galaxy for all the reasons I just touched on, including the fact that if this were allowed to happen, it could very well have been the Andromeda galaxy that the reptilians would have come after next. So, the intervention and the war to free the people of Earth, it couldn't have come at a better time. Especially if you think about the process of evolution, of increasing awareness, increasing vibration that we're all going through right now in order to become a higher dimensional world. I think we're really blessed that they intervened, and now we've got a real opportunity to chart our own future, build new lives without the interference of these malevolent and ruthless, self-absorbed, parasitic race like the Draco and Hydra reptilians. We're lucky the people from the Andromeda Council stepped in. I think we're blessed. That's the totality of the story. I could get into some of the finer details, but like I said, it's a serious story, and I felt it really needed to be heard. So thanks for allowing me to share this with everybody.
All right, let's start on some of the callers, but Tolec, we were hearing almost some typing. Were you typing at all?
No, nothing.
Weird. I always hear weird stuff when you're on. I don't know what that is. Even some of the people in the chat room brought that up. I'm going to bring the first caller on the air, and I'd like to remind all the folks to please press 1 if you'd like to ask Tolec a question. So 705, state your name, where you're calling from.
All right. Yes, this is Bob Challenger. I'm up at Wasaga Beach in Ontario, Canada.
Hi, Bob. Thanks for calling in. Do you have a question for Tolec?
Yeah, I was curious about the triangulation of pyramids between the Earth, the Moon, and Mars, and what's going on with those pyramids today.
All right, that's a good question. I anticipate that as soon as any of the remaining reptilians, and now I'm not talking about the ones that are in the undersea bases, but any of the remaining reptilians, the couple hundred or so, Draco, Hydra probably are mostly gone, but even including some Orion reptilians, as soon as they are off of planet Earth and there's no more cooperation between themselves and the Earth-based human cabal folks, that whole energy grid is going to shut down. In addition, and I didn't get into the details of this at all, but this is worth noting, the frequency. Now, reptilians are naturally, at this stage of their own lives, they are naturally fourth-dimensional beings, albeit lower ones. I've learned, just in the past 2 weeks or so from my Andromeda Council contacts, that the frequency that they reside at, their own natural frequency, is not going to survive the elevation in vibration or frequency of planet Earth. And the plan to clean the reptilians off this planet has a number of reasons, like I touched on, and they're all valid. The focus of that primarily was so that the people of Earth can evolve and transform unfettered and as free and sovereign people, and so they can take the next step in their lives. The point that I'm trying to make here is that their frequency and the frequency that those pyramids, those triangular pyramids, are pulsating at, will cease to exist because it can't tolerate the higher frequency that we on this planet are raising to. Not only that we as people, but this planet is raising up to. So, regardless of what happens from now until 2014, somewhere.
Are you hearing that?
Going on? Yeah, I can hear it.
Oh, look, you hear that?
Oh, that's
weird
actually
beeping?
my oven. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, I'll wait for you.
Okay. I'll put you on mute. That was weird. I thought we were.
Yeah. In any case, I was being a little long-winded with the answer, but the simple answer is the reptilians, as well as their technology. Now, keep in mind, all the underground and undersea bases have been cleared out, cleaned out, and/or destroyed, and we're talking about tens of thousands of reptilians taken off the planet. So you have a couple hundred wandering around. Relatively speaking, the remaining threat is very minor. They and their technology will not be able to survive the raise in vibration and energy level of planet Earth. They and their technology will cease to exist no matter what happens, and that's likely to trigger the first month of January 2014. That's the short answer. And I do want to address other people's comments and yours. I'm chuckling because when I talk to you, I'm sitting here using my computer and Skype as a telephone, and it's a laptop, so I've got my fingers on it. I was probably tapping You know.
I'm still hearing that tapping.
I don't mean keyboard, but I mean my fingers on the actual, the resting place for your palms. So I'm going to put my hands down my side and relax, and you shouldn't hear any more tapping.
Okay, cool. That sounds great.
I'm ready to take more questions.
All right, I got a Skype caller. Skype caller, you're on the air. I don't know if you can even know.
Oh, are you talking?
Yes.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Go ahead.
hi.
State your name and where.
My name is Louise, and I'm from San Francisco.
Okay.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Tolec. I'm calling in because my inner contacts from telepathic contact, like you have, Tolec, with the Andromeda Console, mine are from the 18th dimension, and they basically say they're in charge of the spiritual outcome of humanity, and indeed we're shifting, and it's a done deal at this point. That's what they say. But they absolutely relate that to the fact that the interventions right now are happening at so many different levels by so many different groups that come from the unified reality of life, the real reality of life, that it is because it is the end of time, and it's a window of opportunity because of the galactic wave, all this very intense energy coming from the center of the galaxy that creates, as our solar system comes through, it creates an opportunity for them to break down the systems of control of the reptilians. And as long as we're not in that window of opportunity, in alignment with the center of the galaxy, they could not do anything. They were stuck as we were stuck. They could not help us get out of that mess. And I was wondering if you know what the Andromeda Console has to say about that.
Okay. Well, I think your comments are certainly on target. If I heard you correctly, I think I heard you say that you're in contact with people on the 8th dimension, and quite honestly, I don't have 18th. I'm honestly not aware. I'm not aware of an 18th dimension. But in any case, the points that you raised are valid. Yes, this planet, this solar system, it is going through an area of space which is being bathed in higher dimensional energy. And yes, also you raised a point which I haven't talked about, but at least I haven't talked about it in a while. The way that we measure time and the way that time occurs on this planet is going to come to a point sometime in the near future where it's simply going to cease to exist. And the reason that is because all of the things that are happening right now, but more importantly, as we evolve from a third dimensional world to a fourth and eventually a fifth, in those dimensions, time doesn't exist. Certainly not the way that we experience it at all. And yes, I'm certainly aware that there is not only the Andromeda Council and its hundreds of affiliated planets and star systems and worlds, but yes, of course, there are also other higher dimensional beings that are aware of what's going on right now. And I'm sure for all of the benevolent ones, they're helping to the greatest degree that I can. And yes, of course, it's not only the Andromeda Council. But you raised some really valid points. Thank you.
Okay. So, it's because to me it was very, very important to know, to learn and to remember that humanity has been stuck with those reptoids, reptilians, satanic beings, basically sadistic and cruel and so on and so forth, controllers, we have not been freed before, even though, for example, Christ came 2,000 years ago. He put something in the earth and made a connection through the different levels at that moment. But why weren't we free before? And it's because these divine beings could not free the world from reptilians at that point until we were in that window of opportunity. And so many people are angry, or even angry at the Creator because of that. And anyway, I wanted to see your response and emphasize that point, just because the Creator could not come and reclaim His world and bring it back in the light, because this window of opportunity was not present, and it is now. So anyway, thanks a lot for all your work, Tolec and Mark.
Okay, merci. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate your call. Tolec, I'm going to take just a real short break, maybe 1 minute at tops, and we'll be right back. Folks, just hang on a sec. I'd like to welcome all of you back to Ohio Exopolitics. I'm your host, Mark Snyder. Tonight we're speaking with Tolec. His website is AndromedaCouncil.com. And we've got a few questions from the chat room that I wanted to get to really quick. Tolec, Kathy's Distant Echoes says, but aren't the reptilians considered the true indigenous beings of this planet? Is that true, Tolec?
From what I understand, that's what they teach their people. They're an old race, and they have been traveling the universe and the cosmos and a variety of different galaxies for years and years and years. And it's my understanding that this is what they've been teaching their own people as part of their history for a long, long time. Wow, that was a strange noise. I
heard that.
That's really weird. Yeah, me too. It's somebody asked me a similar question in the last interview I had, and it was about, if the reptilians were here first, and if they truly were the if you will, the first species on this planet, which would give them some sense of, if you will, ownership. Now, that would be arrogant presumption, but in any case, if we were owned like chattel, or if we were slaves, wouldn't we as a race want to have benevolent leaders, a benevolent king, not a set of dictators who manipulate, control, destroy, rape, maim, eat, etc., They're people. So I would say that any group of people, whatever their race, they have the right to throw the yoke or the harness of manipulation and abuse off themselves, whether the original owners and dictators like it or not. So that's that's my two-part answer. But yeah, okay. So the reptilians teach their people that they were here first. Were they? I can't go that far back in history, but that's what they teach their people. But we also had on this planet original primates. People that go way, way, way back before you and I. And there's been knowledge of genetic manipulation, not only by the reptilians, because we have a little part in our brain called a reptilian brain. And Jim Nichols can talk about this at length. But we not only have the reptilians that have done genetic manipulation, but there are a whole bunch of other races that have done genetic manipulation messing with mankind here on this planet. So this is not a simple issue as we were here first, this is our planet. That's my humble opinion. Whatever it's worth.
Don't forget, Tolec, no tapping. Sorry about that.
Oops, sorry. Yeah. Yep.
I have a quick question, then I got to get to these calls. We've got a ton of callers here. Many of our presidents show a symbol. If you ever see them, they raise their hand and they show this three-finger salute. And I've heard Stuart Swerdlow say that is the three-horned god that the reptilians worship. In fact, on Stuart's Blue Blood CD, there's a picture of George Bush Jr. showing that three-horned signal. Do you know anything about that?
I honestly don't. The only three-finger salute that I'm aware of is when I was a kid and I was a Boy Scout. You held up your right hand, you recited the Boy Scout oath, and there were three fingers together. That's all I'm aware of.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of the British royalty. They'll do the same three-finger salute. They do that a lot. It's very, very interesting. All right.
Okay.
Let's get some of the other callers on here. 818, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, Jeannie from Palm Springs.
Hi, Jeannie.
Tolec,
do you have a question for Tolec?
Yeah, I do. First of all, I want to say thank you for everything that you bring to us. And I just wanted to know the rest of the reptilians and the grays that are left on the planet, are they negative enough to keep us or to keep the cabal going, or with Drake and everyone that is trying to free us, get our sovereignty rights back? Will we be able to move ahead?
Okay. I was going to touch on this topic exclusively later, but I'll touch on part of it now. And I'll go back to something that I said about 10 minutes ago. Regardless of what the remaining few reptilians and or reptilian human hybrids that are left on this planet, reptilians numbering 150, 200, something like that are working in concert collaboration with their human cabal Illuminati counterparts. Whatever they do, the gig is up. Game over. In time, game over. They may cause some problems. There's all sorts of things that they can still do to muck up the works, but it is a game over because this solar system and this planet is going through an area of space and its vibration is raising. And the solar system and this planet are transforming and are elevating to a higher vibrational rate. And the reptilians exist at such a low vibrational frequency that they won't be able to tolerate the rays in vibrational frequency. They won't be able to tolerate it. So no matter what they attempt, it is still a game over. Roughly sometime in early January 2014, their time is done here. And if they happen to be here, they'll dissipate and they'll go away, literally.
Neat. Okay, thank you.
And that's really good news, believe me.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Jeannie. I appreciate the call.
Thanks.
570, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, Mark and Tolec. This is Jim from unexplainable.net calling from Pennsylvania. Hoping I could ask a question. How are you guys tonight?
Doing great. Fire away.
Doing great.
Sweet.
Doing great.
All right.
Thank you.
Regarding reptilian history, is it safe to say that these were our demigods, since the reptilians are all in all the ancient religions? And if so, as I understand, the Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, as we all know, and they created humans by, making hybrids with themselves and with the racist monkey, which is the Rh negative bloodline, which I assume the reptilians all have Rh negative. Now, the Bible calls then these Anunnaki bred with the humans that they made, and then you have the sons of Anak, which were mentioned in the Bible, several verses. Now, there's a lot of claims on the Internet from sites such as the RH Registry and others, which claims that those who have RH rhesus monkey negative blood, they don't have the monkey gene, they're superior to positive blood types because they have the God blood. Have you heard anything from the Andromeda Council regarding this? And if it's true, and if RH positive people will be able to merge as easily with the upcoming shift as RH negative people?
Okay. You've covered a number of points. I'll take them one at a time. Honestly, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I'll take for word that what you're saying is accurate. B, I am aware that not only the reptilians, Draco, Hydra, Orion, the ones from Sirius B, the humanoid-looking ones,
yes,
and others have all been on this planet for a long time, have visited, have colonized, have mated with indigenous humans, and there you have it. You know, way down the timeline, we have a pretty mixed breed of human mutts, as many people affectionately call us. You know, we're mutts.
Right.
And have I had any conversation with the Andromeda Council about people of one blood type having any difficulty with the dimensional shift as compared to any other blood type? No, I haven't, not at all. And since this conversation's coming up and again, instead of waiting to the end, I'll just say it. No matter what the stage of evolution, awareness, or vibration each person is at, if you are here on planet Earth early January 2014, you will become a higher dimensional person. No technology needed, no transformation chambers, none. Just be here. No matter what anyone else says, all you have to do is be on planet. Because this solar system and this planet are raising in vibrational energy. This is not, with all due respect to people who have a greater theological feeling or religious feeling about this event, this is not a religious event. This is about the fact that it is the moment in this solar system, and therefore this history's time, it is its destiny, if you will. It is this moment in time for the solar system and this planet to raise in vibrational energy. We are transforming to becoming a higher dimensional species. And nothing anybody says, including the reptilians, nothing that they do is going to stop that from happening.
So it doesn't even matter what happened in the past. Great. Thank you very much.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, my pleasure. Glad I can help.
All right, take it easy, brother.
All right, Jim. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. All righty. Let's bring on 661. State your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Jeanette, and I'm calling from Tehachapi, California.
Hi, Jeanette. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm terrific, and I'm so happy to be able to greet both you, Mark, and as well as Tolec. I have been following Tolec for quite a while, and thank you for bringing him back on the show. So I have a couple of questions. There's been a great discussion, Tolec, regarding the reptilian bases, and last I recall you're having said that there was one major one. It had been cleared out, but it was yet to be destroyed. Can you tell me where that matter stands at this time?
Sure. For everybody that's listening, the answer is on the fifth page, the frequently asked questions page of the Andromeda Council website. But I'll touch on it right here. There is a cosmic event, and I'll speak clearly about this. There's a cosmic event which will be an Earth-based event of a deep sea volcano popping off undersea, out in the ocean, that will trigger a very, if you will, very deep earthquake, and it'll be one very much like the one that had a planet-wide resonance ping. I think that was the East China Sea quake, if I remember correctly. But in any case, it will be a significant event. People will notice it. The timing of that, 4 weeks, within the next 4 weeks or so, somewhere within that time frame. And the reason that I can't and I'm not able to give a fix, an exact time, and they explained this to me pretty simply. When we're talking about events that my Andromeda Council contacts, the people from Procyon, their Delta Strike Force folks, when we're talking about actions that they're going to do, they can give me a pretty good handle on when they're going to do them. Why? Because they're taking action themselves. When we're talking about an event that is cosmic in nature, in this case it happens to be a natural event that's happening here on Earth. It's an Earth event being produced by the planet itself. There are other factors affecting everything that happens on Earth. And the way that I've learned these things happen is one event first has to trigger another. So something's got to happen to planet Earth in order for that particular volcano to pop off undersea, in order for then the earthquake to happen. When will that happen exactly? I don't know.
When that does occur, that will destroy that particular base that you were speaking of?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you so much.
Sure. My pleasure. Happy I can help.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks for calling, Jeanette. And let's bring the next caller on. The next caller, I don't have your number. I see a name here. It must be a Skype caller, I guess. And this is Marius, I think. You're on the air? Marius Hagen? You're on the air now. Please ask your question for Tolec if you have one. All right. Maybe they changed their mind. I'm not sure.
Well, by the way, I've placed my hands under my legs in my lap, so I'm not.
Okay.
Not tapping the keyboard.
All right. That's probably a good idea. Let me bring the next caller on. 361. State your name and where you're calling from.
Blessings, brothers. I'm Rob. I live in Corpus Christi.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
Hi. I'm from Tehachapi, which is sending chills down my spine, but I digress. How did our government get duped by the reptilians? And I have another question after this.
Wow.
How did such smart people get duped? Did they really think that this is the right thing to do? I mean, how did
what? That's a really valid question.
Yeah.
I think that, and there are other guys that are really good at this, including my buddy Jim Nichols, but I'll give it my best shot.
Okay.
I'd like you and everybody else to think of the fact that what we think of as the structure that the founders of this country formed 200 plus years ago is not what we believe it to be today. And it's also quite possible that there were people they may have gone by different names then, and actually David Icke is a researcher who can address this at length. You know, there's Bilderbergers and all sorts of other people, families have been going back for a long time that aren't part of the government, but that wield enormous power with governments around the globe.
Yes.
And the money system is a pretty nefarious piece of leverage on the part of any country.
Yeah.
So I don't know all the nuts and bolts of the answer, but it lies somewhere in those things that we're talking about right now, where
money, power, greed.
Yeah, all of it. And
so it's kind of the negative energy kind of feeding on.
Sure. And the people that, maybe the people that we elect locally, the town mayors, the city councils, the governors, they probably don't have their hand in the malevolent bad guy till. It's up at the top of the power structure. Where the leverage, where the global leverage and control is. That's likely where it's happening.
Yeah, I was a soldier in the Army, and I can tell you the mission comes first, and it's kind of vague. It's simply the mission. So this is kind of the attitude of a bureaucracy, is to get this done. It's my job, period. So yeah, I could see, I can see what you're saying. But my other question is, how do we expose the reptilians through our 3D world? How do we expose them? Do they exist just in a fourth dimension, or are they actually both?
Okay, here we go. Three-part answer, and I'll take them one at a time. And I'm glad you asked, because I've been answering this question quite a bit with people who've been writing to me.
I apologize. I just started reading about this today.
No, this is a great opportunity, because it's worth saying out loud. Most people don't realize the nuances of what I'm about to explain. In their present form today, reptilians are essentially fourth-dimensional beings. Now, they are low-level fourth-dimensional beings, but still fourth-dimensional beings. Therefore, they have the natural capabilities that other fourth-dimensional beings have, which include levitation, teleportation, which means moving your body very quickly from one place to another across the globe. Telepathy. They have all of these skills, and so they function in a different way than we're used to. So that's A. B, as fourth-dimensional beings, they can also manifest matter. So what they'll do is they will use their fourth-dimensional capabilities. They will manifest a reptilian three-dimensional body, which functions. It has a very
Are those
strong...
the Greys?
Pardon?
Are those the Greys?
No. We're still talking about reptilian capabilities.
Okay.
You've got fourth-dimensional reptilians, which can manifest, which can create a three-dimensional reptilian body. That three-dimensional reptilian body has a sense of taste, a very strong sense of smell, hunger. It's voracious. It's a whole bunch of things. But to stay on track here, when reptilians, and this is the part where people go, what is this shape-shifting stuff? When a fourth-dimensional reptilian has manifested a three-dimensional reptilian body, shape-shifting comes into effect when they project a human form over the 3D organic reptilian form they've created. And when people are watching these videos and they go, look, the eye, and it's moving, and it doesn't look the same, and look, there's scales in the face. This is all about a fourth-dimensional reptilian and his or her inability to not be able to energetically hold that human form in place, because it takes a lot of energy to hold that human form in place over an already manifested three-dimensional reptilian body. That's the three parts. Okay. The Greys, there are some very intelligent scientific people who used to live in the Zeta Reticuli system. Those original people, the forebears of the Greys, they don't even live in Zeta Reticuli anymore. They've been relocated. The Greys that people are talking about primarily on this planet, most of them are long lost great-great-great-great-grandchildren of the original Zeta Reticulans. They've been living in Orion. They started up a strategic partnership alliance with the Reptilians. They're going on for a while, and they too are abused and manipulated. It's far less of a partnership these days than it is a master-slave relationship. That's the reptilian gray piece.
Sure. I have one more question about these pyramids in the sun that people are catching. It seems NASA is pulling them off their websites. Does this have anything to do?
I have the answer. I addressed it about a month ago. Sure. People can read it on the frequently asked questions page, but I'll answer it for you. It is nothing more and nothing less than an interdimensional gateway. There are ships from higher dimensional worlds that are using the sun as an interdimensional portal. So, let's say that they're out in some other star system, some other galaxy somewhere else. They enter a Stargate. Well, first they key in the coordinates. They enter the Stargate. They come through. They enter our solar system through our sun, through this portal, this gateway that comes through the sun. That's what the black triangle is that you're seeing. That this large triangle, which seems to be on the surface of the sun. It's not on the surface of the sun. It's coming through the sun. It's a dimensional portal. Nothing more, nothing less.
Rob, thanks for the call. I'm going to bring on 717. State your name, where you're calling from. 717?
Oh.
All right, I'll try the next caller. That one wasn't ready or was playing a prank. I'm not sure which. Okay, let's bring on 503. State your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, my name is Donna from Oregon.
Hi, Donna. How are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Real good. You got a question for Tolec?
Yeah, hi, Tolec. Thanks for being available tonight for so many people. I wanted to find out, what about our animal children?
I'm sorry?
Our animal children. What kind of changes will they be going through as we all go through the changes?
Yeah, I'm going to take a stab at what I think you're saying. Are you asking about families that have cats and dogs and maybe pot-bellied pigs, guinea pigs, hamsters?
Yeah.
Okay. I've had a couple of people ask me the question. Right now, the only answer that I have, and I probably ought to ask this, but so far the only answer that I have is there are animals, and I'm going to talk in a global sense on Earth. There are animals like bears, lions, jaguars, and they are certainly intelligent to some degree, have their own sentience, but as to whether they are going to be able to raise in vibration to be able to live and thrive in a higher vibratory Earth, in an Earth that thrives in a higher dimensional level, it's likely not. And what will happen is that those animals, those, if you will, voracious, raw, meat-eating animals, will be relocated to a three-dimensional world where they can thrive and they can live. So far,
okay.
that's as much as I know about animals on Earth globally. But you're about the fourth person that's asked, so I probably ought to ask about cats and dogs and gerbils and guinea pigs. I'll make it a point of doing that and see what my Andromeda Council friends have to say. But I'm sorry I couldn't answer. I'm sorry I couldn't answer directly your question, but that's as much as I know.
Okay, thanks for taking your time.
Sure,
Have
you're
a great
welcome.
Night.
All right, Donna, thanks for the call. We've got another caller here that's been holding for a long time. 763, state your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, Tolec. Hi, Mark. This is Jay from
Hello, Jay.
Minnesota. Hey.
Hi, Jay.
I was wondering, why do the reptilians feel the need to do this to so many people? Like, how does this benefit them?
Oh, well, that's kind of like the answer regarding the question that was asked about 25 minutes or so ago. The reptilians are self-centered. Certainly the ones from Draco and Hydra are arrogant. They feel presumptively superior. They feel, and they've been taught, that the universe is their garden, their place to manage, control, dominate, do what they will with it. That's what they're taught. That's what they believe, and they're arrogant in their belief about it. Moreover, they believe that the humanoids are dumb, ignorant animals, and that we're here for their pleasure as a consumable resource. They would just as soon kill you and eat you if you serve no purpose. And they'll do the same anyway because That's the way they feel about humans. Apparently, the only reason they keep people around is if they are a usable commodity. Otherwise, they'll kill them at the drop of a hat. So the short answer is it's about presumptive arrogance in that they feel that this universe is theirs to dominate, own, control, and manipulate however they want to. That's how they feel.
All right,
that's everything I've learned about them.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, Jay, thanks for the call. Tolec, we are about out of time. I think I've got one more caller that I don't think we've talked to yet. No, actually, we have talked to that caller. The rest of them are just hanging on the line. Is there any closing statements you'd like to make to our listening audience, Tolec?
For all the people who've been listening over time, I want you to know that not only do I appreciate your interest in the evolution of this planet and all of the people, but so do the people from the Andromeda Council. I've had a few conversations recently, and they are very appreciative that people are taking an interest and a greater interest in our own current events on this planet and in our own future. There are a lot of people that are waking up and starting to ask some really intelligent, really reasonable questions, and they wanted to make sure that I extended their appreciation for the people that are paying attention and listening. Other than that, I want to let people know that the archive for this interview will be available certainly on the Andromeda Council website, which is andromedacouncil.com. And Mark, it'll also be available on your Ohio Exopolotics website as well, right?
Yeah, they can get it here, and they can get it on Ohio Exopolotics as well. And Tolec, I want to thank you for coming on the show again, and you have a good evening, sir.
You too. Thanks again, Mark. You take care.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye.
This is Thank You White Knights, and I hope you enjoyed this video. For updates and to go to the source of this article, please find the link below the YouTube screen while watching in YouTube. For the latest news and updates, please visit thankyouwhiteknights.com.